This being the December meeting that's held in January. Thank you, Councillor Organ. Held at the time, Jay. Which was postponed due to the timing of the official declaration of the New South Wales local government election. The council meeting is open to the public due to the easing of public orders and restrictions under the New South Wales map. As a result, everyone in attendance in the council chamber must adhere to council's COVID-19 safety plan. Current restrictions include QR codes and wearing of masks. The meeting is being live streamed to YouTube and recorded and published online. To those present in the meeting today, by participating in this public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded. The Mayor and/or General Manager have the authority to pause the live stream if comments, debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. I'm sure people don't need to be told that. The reason it's said is just a more or less a legal thing that tries to separate council from any responsibility. It really is on yourself. Try to keep it respectful. I know sometimes people are not going to be happy with council. Just try and keep it as respectful as possible and be very careful about when it may come to defamation. Well, it says there that you may be subject of legal action. So we now will go straight to the swearing in. Jay?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The swearing in of the newly elected council is pursuant to Section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993, which requires the newly elected mayor and councillors to either take an oath of office or make an affirmation of office at or before the first council meeting after the council is elected, and this must occur before the general manager. The mayor and councillors have been advised of this requirement and provided with the required statements in preparation for tonight's meeting. So just for the publics and the live stream, I'm just going to go around the room to each individual council and they'll either take their oath or affirmation. Mayor Kennedy, can you please confirm whether you're taking the oath of office or making the affirmation of office?
I'm making the oath of office.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy.
I, Thomas Kennedy, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the City of Broken Hill and the Broken Hill City Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act of 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you. If you can sign. Congratulations on being elected Mayor of Broken Hill City Council.
I, James Hickey, swear that I undertake the duties of the council, duties of office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the City of Broken Hill and the Broken Hill City Council, and I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you. Thank you.
You can't back out now, Jim.
The affirmation of office. I, Alan Chandler, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the city of Broken Hill and the Broken Hill City Council. That I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities, and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
I, Hayley Jewett, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the city of Broken Hill and the Broken Hill City Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Affirmation. Thanks. I, Robert Allgate, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the city of Broken Hill and the Broken Hill City Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act of 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thanks.
Thank you. Congratulations, Councillor Walsh.
Taking the oath of office. I, Michael Boland, swear that I will undertake the duties of office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the city of Broken Hill and the Broken Hill City Council, and I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act of 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
The affirmation. Thank you. I, Daria Turley AM, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the city of Broken Hill and the Broken Hill City Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you.
If we could just have a round of applause for all the councillors. It's great that we've had so many elected as normal, but well done. Just on a personal note, four new councillors that were elected on the ticket that I headed. I think they'll be really great councillors, and I look forward to working with them. I'm sure the community will be pleased with the people as they learn to do it. And I'd also like to acknowledge the four returning councillors that I've worked with for a long time. And I'm sure together we'll have a very productive council. So thank you all councillors. There was nil requests to attend by video conference. All councillors are here, which is what we like to see as a community. So there's no need for apologies either. That was nil. We go to the prayer. We have Michael Boland who will deliver the prayer. Councillor Boland will deliver the prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
For the acknowledgement of country, if Councillor Gallagher is still prepared to do that, thank you.
Yeah, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet and pay our respect to those elders, past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Just if councillors could refer or when addressing the chair, Councillor Kennedy is my preferred address. So we have minutes for confirmation. If I could have a mover and a seconder for the minutes to be confirmed. Moved Councillor Gallagher.
I'd like to make some comment.
Are you going to alter the minutes, Councillor Allgate, or?
I hope so.
All right, go.
I do that. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. I'll refer to minute number item 12 on page 12. It's the confidential minutes that referred to a particular important matter that I can't disclose that was held on the 11th of November. And I maintain that the minutes are totally incorrect, and they've been proven to be that way. But before I go on, I'd like to outline to the people in the gallery who obviously may not understand what happens with minutes. Minutes in general have to be a true and accurate account of what happens. Whatever the resolution of the meeting is, the minutes have to reflect that resolution in a true and accurate manner. But in the terms in terms of confidential meetings, the conduct of the meeting is obviously held in confidence, and none of the discussion or debate that takes place in the meeting is available to the public. But the resolution that is resolved, the motion that becomes the resolution and is adopted, that resolution, once the confidential meeting closes and the meeting then becomes open to the public, the general manager or the chairman must read out the record of the minutes. And as I said before, those minutes should be a true and accurate record of what the decision was. In respect to the confidential matter item 12, the minutes, the people with the business papers can read that minute. It really tells you nothing about what the decision was. It disguises what the decision is. And I understand why. And I've discussed this with the general manager yesterday again. It's a sad situation, but nevertheless, I want the minutes changed, not necessarily tonight, but I think the minutes should be reflected at the next council meeting in a true and accurate manner. So the thing is that to cover a bit of ground, at the original meeting on the 11th of November, I protested vigorously about the manner in which the matter, which is confidential, was handled. And I said at the meeting, and the old councillors were there, I said at the meeting that once the minutes are read out, there will be something very, very serious and detrimental to the community will happen. And obviously, the reason why the minutes were put in the manner that they are was because of that. And that is just not on. Then at a subsequent meeting on November 24th, I think it was, at the next council meeting, I again vigorously objected to the manner in which the minutes were recorded. And in discussion or in debate with the general manager on that particular night, I was told by the general manager that the general manager had in fact been in touch with the Office of Local Government, and the minute was fine. The indication was the minute was fine. I had already sent an email to the Office of Local Government, but unfortunately I didn't get a response in time. But nevertheless, I knew that the minutes were not fine, and they were they were at odds with the Local Government Act. They were at odds with the Code of Meeting Practice. They were at odds with the council's own Code of Meeting Practice. So whilst I objected to it and debated the issue with the general manager, the matter was still passed 8 votes to 1. So obviously the 8 councillors at the time thought that the minutes were fine. I really was gobsmacked when this happened. And after speaking with the general manager, I understand why. I really understood why before, but it was nice to hear it from the general manager. Just as a piece of advice, added advice, I'll read out what the Office of Local Government said. Dear Councillor Orgate, thank you for your email of the 22nd of November 2021 about the exclusion of a resolution of the Broken Hill City Council from the publicly available minutes of its extraordinary meeting on the 11th of November. Under the Local Government Act 1993, all councils are required to conduct their meetings in accordance with their adopted codes of meeting practice. At a minimum, this must incorporate the mandatory provisions of the Model Code of Meeting Practice for local councils in New South Wales. In other words, the Model Meeting Code. Under the Model Meeting Code, a resolution passed during a closed part of a council meeting must be made public as soon as practical after the closed part of the meeting has ended, during a part of the meeting that is webcast. The resolution must also be recorded in a publicly available meeting, minutes of that meeting. The Office of Local Government has discussed these requirements with the Council's General Manager. Office of Local Government understands that this issue will be addressed at the next ordinary meeting of the Council. Unfortunately, it wasn't addressed at this meeting of the Council, but I'm hoping that in accordance with the Office of Local Government's advice, I would hope that at the January 26 meeting, that this matter would be deferred to the January 26 meeting, and an accurate record of the meeting resolution be contained in the minutes that are publicly displayed at that meeting. Thank you. I'd asked for the Council's General Manager perhaps to respond to what I've said.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Would the General Manager like to respond?
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy, and through the Mayor to Councillor Allgate. Yeah, as discussed yesterday, firstly, I will give my apologies for the position that I placed you with my response publicly with the advice that I gave you at that subsequent meeting. It is in fact, and they do need to be recorded in full transparency. I acted on advice that I'd received, but I didn't fact check that myself, which is my responsibility. So I'll take 100% responsibility for my actions. I didn't fact check it, and I gave the council incorrect advice at that meeting. So as yesterday, I apologise again for the position that put you in and the council in.
Through you, Councillor Kennedy, I thank the General Manager for that. I'm hoping that the matter will be resolved in the meantime so that the minutes can be publicly displayed. One of the reasons that I raise this is a personal one, not only because the system, the procedure was wrong, and we're so often reminded that we must follow the rules, and we must follow the rules, but we must follow them all the time, not some of the time. But after the meeting, 2 days after the meeting, an acquaintance of mine said to me, an acquaintance that regularly follows the YouTube and previously the Facebook coverage said to me, "Oh, Bob, you want to get your facts right before you start debating issues with the General Manager." And that didn't go down too well with me, because I don't ever put forward anything that I haven't first been aware or been sure of what I'm saying. But that's the sort of thing that there are a lot of people who follow the web broadcast, and to give the public the wrong impression about any councillor or the General Manager or anything like that is just not on. And that's one of the main reasons I raised this.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Thank you, the General Manager, as well. And I'd just like to briefly just say to the councillors, council staff and the public here tonight, the General Manager, the councillors, me as Mayor, will have an open, transparent council. As often as possible, we will make sure that confidential matters are dealt with as openly as they can be, that you can have a report that is confidential and still have parts of it taken care of in open council. So the General Manager acknowledges the error that was made, and from now on, I'm sure the General Manager will confirm it at some time as well. We will make sure that this council is as open and transparent as possible. So thank you. And just for Councillor Allgate, you're happy still to second the amendments with what you said, because it's not really changed in the minutes. What you're actually doing is asking for something after. So you're happy with what's written in the minutes at the moment? So we have Councillor Allgate.
No, hang on, I'm not happy with what's written in the minutes.
No, but what you've said is that you want that part of it corrected for the next lot of minutes.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. So you got that. General Manager Jay, I'll call you. Oh, yeah, you're happy? Yeah. Councillor Allgate. Right, could we have all those in favour? Is anyone against? No one against the minutes? All those in favour of the minutes? Yeah, I'll declare that carried unanimously. No one against. Go to disclosures of interest. Is there any disclosures of interest in the business paper? No disclosures of interest. We will go on to mayoral minutes. What I would like to see, if one of the councillors would be prepared to do it, is to move as a matter of urgency that we actually have a public question time in this council meeting.
I'll move that.
There was a couple of people that wanted to speak, so if we could have a councillor that's willing to move it as a matter of urgency.
I'll move a motion of urgency in respect to the manner in which the meeting is held, that 15 minutes be provided for public question or comment time prior to the meeting and 15 minutes at the conclusion of the meeting.
So as mayor, I will accept that as a matter of urgency. This is the first meeting and I want to do all I can to make sure the public are well aware of the fact that this is going to be an open and accountable council. Could we also have a councillor that's willing to move to bring this agenda item ahead of all other items on? We have a move from councillor Page. Could we have a seconder to move it ahead?
I'll second that.
Councillor Jewett seconded. All in favour of having public question time? We have Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler and Councillor Hickey. All those against? Councillor Brown and Councillor Turley. I declare that motion carried. It is now the resolution and we will provide 15 minutes public question time. I'll ask, does anyone in the public gallery wish to speak? Yes, Mr. Bobos, if you'd like to take the microphone. Just if speakers are going to speak, keep your speeches as short as possible so that as many people as possible do get the opportunity to speak. But having said that, you also will not be pressured to hurry it up.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. First, I just want to start with congratulating Councillor Kennedy and his team, the new councillors. Well done. And I just listened to the swearing in of all the councillors. Everyone took an oath to basically listen to the community. I don't know if they done that last term, but it'd be good to see that in this term. I think that's going to be a big thing moving forward from now. Having councillors listen, and you've got a full room of people coming into a council meeting. That doesn't happen very often. And you know, example, Broken Hill signs I was here at that meeting, a full council and outside the council building. And it's just very difficult to think that everyone took that oath that said that they will listen to the community. So I just want to make a point that the councillors are here to listen to the community, what the community wants, and it'd be good to see the council moving that way forward. Next point I just want to make, some of the issues that I've had with developing the site out on the Barrier Highway. The last 4 years, 5 years, dealing with the councillors and the council, or some of the councillors, not all. You know, watching an 8-2 vote on decisions about my property, getting fined from council, you know, $6,000 twice for putting a sign up and not having a development application. When someone builds a sign and puts it up for free, and have the councillors fine you for doing that is just totally wrong. And I just hope that council learned something. The councillors learned something this year, and don't make the same mistakes again. They should be there supporting businesses, not finding businesses. I got a development application in for council. I've had it in for 2 years. It'll be 2 years and probably 15 days. I hope council this year looks at it and approves it, and looks at it with new eyes instead of going through it and picking it to bits. The council should be here to help local businesses and to approve DAs so the town moves forward. Some of the other issues I've had were the rates out on Barrier Highway property. Rates going from $5,000 to $20,000 a year. And I'm not the only business that had that rate increase. A lot of other business owners that are in the same position, and when you can't afford to pay them rates because one, council don't want to approve your DA, and you can't afford to pay those rates because council's using your land and don't want to contribute anything to it. It's just appalling. I hope this year the new council looks at it with new eyes and makes some better decisions than the old council. The other thing, I think it's a good idea with the library. I'm a strong believer of the library getting changed. The drawings that presently are out there issued for approval are just not up to the, that's my opinion, that they're not up for the job. The old town hall needs to be put back to the way it was. You know, Broken Hill, the first heritage listed town in Australia, and one of the most heritage buildings in Australia, or in Broken Hill, is the old town hall facade. And to have a building sitting there, you know, 6 meters wide and nearly 8 meters high, just doesn't look proportional. And I don't know how any architect could think that looks nice. It's not proportional. It's not the way it was. It should have never been knocked down some 50 years ago. It should never have been knocked down. And I hope to see it be built again and turned into a library, be built on the outside exactly the way it looked when that building was built new. And I think that would be a big help for the Broken Hill community. It will draw a lot of tourists and help the community a lot. We don't need a light show on a wall. You know, there's plenty of other walls we can do that to. We don't need to do it to the old town hall facade. That's my opinion, and good luck this year with all the new councillors.
Thank you, Nick. We still have, Peter, go for it. We've got, how long left, Jay? Still got 8 minutes to go, Jay.
Okay, it won't take that
8
long.
minutes to go, Peter.
Won't take that long. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy, and greetings to our new councillors. It's just a couple of administrative matters. The ABC sent a reporter to report on the proceedings here tonight, and when he got here, there wasn't a bench or seat for him. Now, when you're reporting, you can't work off your knees. You've got to have a bench in front of you to write on and so on. I'd just like to get that sorted out at the next meeting if you possibly could. The second thing is some of us have got very primitive telephones. I've got a little wind-up handle in the back. I have to wind mine up when I want to talk. Could we have a pad out the front there somewhere or another where us primitives could sign in, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good pickup. You want to come and grab this chair and chuck her over there? Oh, do it. Go on, mate. Don't embarrass us now. Take it over there. Sorry about that, Callum. Any other speaker like to speak? Lee, you've been hanging out to speak. Mark, do you want to speak? Well, after Mark, and did you want someone over there put their hand up? No? No. Okay, Mark.
Welcome to all the new councillors. My question is on rates. I don't know if most people would know probably David Tunker when he used to live here. He's on Pooncarry Road, and Stuart Foster's got a industrial block about 4 times the size of mine, and his rates are $2,900 a year, $590 a quarter. Stephen Holmes is a local businessman here as well. He knows people in Benetook Avenue, prime industrial, millions of dollars worth of land, and it's only a few $1,000s compared to what we got here. Gary Zamet's another trucking fellow here in Broken Hill. He's in Adelaide as well, in Roseworthy, $1,500 a year in Roseworthy. Our comparison is Blacktown rates, and we're not getting much for it. The price of the land, and I have got a query to the council. If the new battery is situated probably 80 metres from my office in Pinnacles Place, and if that land is sold to AGL, it's going to push the rates through the roof. So I'm just a little bit curious if anyone knows about the block of land in AGL wish to put a battery on near the substation there, which all the surveying's already been done. Graham Howe's already done the surveying. What's it going to do to us again when we're already in a situation? There's no comparison on what the land's worth 1.5 kilometres from the bridge in Wentworth and what land's worth in Benetook Avenue compared to what the business people in the industrial area are paying here in Crystal Street. And I won't go into, I know all the businesses what they're paying, but I won't go into what they're paying, but some of them are absolutely ludicrous. So I hope we can look into it, and perhaps there's a local chap not far from me. He's sold out, he can't afford to pay the rates, and he's living at his workshop. He's sold it to a Sydney company, which will probably push it through the roof again, but he couldn't stay there. It's in Pinnacles Place. Anyway, that's about it. Welcome to all the new councillors, and I hope we can sort some things out for the positive moving forward in Broken Hill. Cheers.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, Lee, at the end of the public question time, I will address the things that have been brought up rather than waste the community time by answering as they go. I will address some of the things that have been said. So, Mr. Hermison, Lee's an advocate for disability sport and for Taekwondo.
Welcome to the new council amendments, Mayor Council, and the rest of good luck for this year. I've had a massive stroke, but I'm still teaching. I'm very happy to Mayor Tom got into the council and all the rest of the delegates here today. Very happy to see you here. And I'd just like to hopefully hope the grow the martial arts. I've been a taekwondo years ago. Hope they'll go forward in Wilcannia, Menindee, and locally here in Broken Hill. I had a person took the hall off. I had a stroke, so I do the taekwondo from the church hall, and I'm hoping to promote the art in Wilcannia and Menindee. So hopefully with Mayor and the delegates here, we can have a grant approved and go forward. And I'm glad to see the public support this council, and welcome to the new councillors. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Lee. That's just about it anyway. 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes. Does anyone else want to get up? All right. Yep. Got 2 minutes. Just say your name for the tape.
Sean Power.
Oh, hey, Sean.
Yeah, I won't take long. It's just sort of about the trees in town. Obviously, they're a big issue. Everyone can see it. They're all, sort of falling apart. A lot of them are dead. There definitely needs to be like a replanting sort of strategy. There's a few of us in town which are like qualified arborists and are very, chainsaw tickets, things like that. We're all really eager to sort of start helping out, but I really feel like something needs to be done pretty quick. Just quick examples, that tree that just fell through the Broken Hill High School. There's a couple of us that have said most of them spats are going to come down pretty quick. Come down today, it could have been on kids. It could have went the other way. It's a pretty busy road. I won't go on and on about it, but yeah, like I don't want to chop every tree down or anything like that. I think a planting strategy needs to be in place with the removals. Yeah, then like we're really eager. There's a big group of us that are very eager to get involved and sort of start doing things. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Congratulations to everyone and good luck.
Thank you, Sean. That's just about time. So I'll just briefly go through some of the things. This council will be committed to doing all we can for the businesses of the community. We all know that rates are an issue. The reality is there is now a mechanism that council can use to reduce rates around the city, where a lot of them council had been hamstrung to a certain degree with the old system, but there is a new system. And we will work with business owners and the community to address those rate issues. We won't just make a decision without making sure that businesses are involved and residents are involved and other stakeholders. It's very important that, and if the general manager would like to just make a short comment after I do on this matter. DAs are an issue in the city, or construction certificates, and we really do need to get on top of that, and that'll be one of the priorities for this council, because without growing businesses, without helping businesses, the city will continue to slowly die. We do have to make sure that we turn around the population decreases that we've been suffering, and I have no doubt that will happen with the battery. So because we do have an ability to change rates with the new system, if there is a major increase, we can level those out in different areas now. So there is a way to deal with that. Thank Lee. Lee's been passionate for a long time. He wants to take martial arts to Wilcannia and Menindee. So I'm sure the council will be very supportive of that. Councillor Gallagher was the chairman, and probably will remain the chairman of the grants committee. I think we'll do all we can to help. And with the trees, thank you, Sean. It is important, and it is an issue that's regularly brought up to not just me, but I'm sure all the councillors. And we would love to get that advice from people that know. The general manager and I have been speaking about how important volunteers are going to be to the community. Without volunteers, we won't be able to achieve anything like this council will be able to achieve by themselves. So it's about making sure that the community works with the council. The council does all it can to foster the community and have the community help with council. I'm sure together we will make Broken Hill great. It really will be a different thing, and council will be seen as a partner with the community. And I really do. I'm really optimistic, and I hope that the community are as optimistic as both the councillors are, and Jay, and Jay's told me the staff are just as optimistic. So let's look forward to the next 2 years and 9 months, and see what we can achieve over that period. So thank you to everyone again. So we now go to mayoral minutes. So there is a couple of mayoral minutes. I've handed it out to councillors. I've handed it out to some people in the gallery, and I hope that they pass it around to other people. I didn't print off enough. The first mayoral minute is machinery matters. At number 6 in the machinery matters, it was the appointment of Councillor Hickey be appointed. Could we have a councillor that's willing to bring forward the election of the deputy mayor ahead of other items? Moved Councillor Page, seconded Councillor Gallagher. All in favour of moving that forward? That is carried unanimously. So thank you, councillors. Could we have those that are willing to nominate for the position of deputy mayor? Or someone nominate someone for the position of deputy mayor?
I'll nominate Councillor Jim Hickey.
We have a seconder for that.
I will second that. Councillor Kennedy.
Seconded Councillor Boland. Do we have any other nominations for deputy mayor? There's no need for a ballot. Deputy, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, I've been, sorry, mate. I will appoint Jay as the returning officer. I was just going ahead of myself a little there. So you want to take that over, Jay? General Manager Jay.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. As Councillor Kennedy advised, we've received one nomination, which is Councillor Hickey. Are you happy to accept that nomination, Councillor Hickey? Thank you. Is there any other nominations for Deputy Mayor? No further nominations were received. I just need to seek confirmation, Mr. Mayor, that the period will be through until September 2022.
Through until September 22 and then another election.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given that there was no second nomination, I declare Councillor Jim Hickey Deputy Mayor of Broken Hill City Council. Congratulations.
You can come up here now, but he doesn't get to wear this. Okay, so Mayoral Minute /122 machinery matters. I'll just briefly read it out, not completely, just so people have a fair understanding of what the Mayoral Minute's about. So it's to remove all previous policies, that the mayor be afforded a dedicated full-time secretary or assistant, that the mayor's office be responsible for ceremonial activities, that the mayor afforded priority to use the upstairs meeting room. Councillor Jim Hickey appointed mayor via the vote. That the standing committees will have works, health, building, policy and general. That the works include consideration of all matters relating to garbage services, parks, gardens, animal control and any other function that council delegates. That the health and building include consideration of all matters relating to cultural activities, library, art gallery, geo centre and any other function that council delegates. That the policy in general include consideration of all matters relating to corporate services, heritage, tourism and any other functions the council delegates. That the general manager be invited to ensure that senior staff, the authors of the reports and present at relevant standing committees, that the standing committees be chaired by Councillor Boland, works will be Jim Hickey, building will be Bob Allgate. Oh, sorry, wrong way around. The standing committees will be chaired by Michael Boland, the works, Jim Hickey, building and health, Councillor Bob Allgate, policy in general. That the first standing committees will be held in the February 22. That the composition of the standing committees, other than the mayor, will be on works will be Michael Boland, Bob Allgate, Alan Chandler, Ron Page. Health will be Jim Hickey, Alan Chandler, Hayley Jewett, Dave Gallagher. Policy in general will be Councillor Bob Allgate, Councillor Michael Boland, Councillor Marion Brown and Councillor Hayley Jewett and Jim Hickey. that the mayor, deputy mayor, councillor Allgate, councillor Boland be appointed to the audit committee, that councillors be invited to indicate to the mayor's office their preference for membership of the section 355 committees, appointments to the same to be made at the February meeting. Before we have a seconder or not, I'd just like to speak to Councillor Turley. I didn't put you down here because of your new role, but if you're happy to serve on any of those committees, Councillor Turley, you name one there and I'll put you on it.
Thank you. And I would like to go on, let me have a think about it because I've only seen
All right,
this
well, when
tonight.
you, we will, we'll leave that open. So if you decide to be on one, we will arrange it for the next
Okay.
meeting.
I'll send you an email. Thank you for that.
No worries. So do we have a seconder for the Mayoral Minute?
Seconded.
Seconded, Councillor Allgate. I'll just briefly speak to the Mayoral Minute. This has been a long time in the works. Standing committees are very, very important. Standing committees what give the councillors the opportunity to speak and make decisions before the council meetings and then send that recommendation to council meetings. Gives the opportunity for the general public that may have an interest in any item that is going to the council meeting to have it addressed in a fashion longer than the public question time. For example, if one of the speakers that were talking about rates and was at a policy and general meeting, that person would then get the opportunity to address that committee in more detail, and the recommendation then would go to the council meeting with those people hearing what had been said. It's important that the Mayor's office does have secretarial support, planning to make the position very important. I hope to achieve a lot. The Mayor's office will be open to the public. I'm not saying that the previous Mayor didn't have that, but it certainly makes it easier if there's a person that's dedicated to do that. So just happy to pass it, happy for someone to have seconded it, and hope that it is supported unanimously. Is there any speakers against?
Just a couple of questions, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Brown.
Right, item 5 there, point 5, the use of level 2 administrative centre. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what you have in mind there. I know that that's a frequently used meeting. I don't know. Have you discussed with the general manager whether that's going to be, practical and feasible, and whether that is impinging on, operational issues? That's one question. Another question is that with the formation of standing committees, the key direction working groups would, I presume, be obsolete. So that needs to be maybe dealt with somewhere if that's your intention. The final question is relating to item 16, that there are some other bodies and groups that don't come under the definition of section 355 committees that you haven't covered in your things like, I have an interest personally in the traffic committee, and that's one, and the lead reference group is another. They're not 355 committees, but they are important committees, and I think maybe they need to be included somewhere, or you just need to add a word to cover those.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. So I'll amend my Mayoral Minute at point 16. The councillors be invited to indicate to the Mayor's office their preference for membership of section 355 committees or any other committee that has had councillor membership, and appointments to the same made at the February council meeting. You happy with that, Councillor Brown? More than happy if you'd add words that you prefer. No, that's good. Yes, it's likely that the key direction groups will be incorporated into the standing committees. So I think there's key direction working groups can work with them. They'll be amalgamated with the standing committees. As far as impinging, if it requires a vote of council, then I'm more than happy to have that in the Mayoral Minute, that the level 2 administrative centre, which was a meeting room, be made back to a meeting room when councillors call for it. So quite happy to do that if it's required. General Manager, do we need to do that, or are you quite happy to just go with this? All right. So then at number 5, that the Mayor be afforded priority to use the level 2 administrative centre meeting room, and that councillors be afforded access to the administrative centre, that the level 2 administrative centre be made back into a councillor meeting room common area for when councillors wish to use that for meetings.
So may I ask another question about that? What about the councillor room on the ground floor, which has been very successful and has all those audio visual facilities and so on? I mean, we have that already.
Quite happy to continue to use that as well, Councillor Brown. I'm not saying that we stop using that. I'm saying that that second one, if councillors want to come up and use it, that'll be a place where they can meet, as the original intention of that meeting room was. I know what happened in the past. The previous mayor, not this mayor that's here, decided that councillors weren't required to be in the council building and locked us out. I'm making it quite clear that councillors are welcome in that council building to see the mayor's office and to meet in the councillor room. That's all councillors, not just the councillors that were elected. This is a council that will have the mayor and councillors making the decisions for council. We will not be, as a council, or you councillors will be not locked out of that building as has been happening. You're the most important people in the town. You're elected as a whole with 11,000 votes. Each one of these councillors in this room received 1,039 votes, and the last councillor over 800 votes. You represent the community. You must have access to the mayor. You will, and as the General Manager said, you will have access via the fob to come up to that room. You make an appointment, you have a right to meet there. So do we have any speakers against? So I'll go with the Councillor Olga. You happy to second the things?
Yes, more than happy.
But I'm more than happy to allow you to make comment, Councillor Page. But if you do make comment, you forgo your right to speak for or against. So you must keep your comments brief if you want to make comment. No. All those in favour of the Mayoral Minute /122? Declared that carried unanimously, and thank you, councillors. The second Mayoral Minute is a long Mayoral Minute. I will read it out because people do watch this on live stream, and some of the people may not have read the Mayoral Minute. So I'll be as quick with the Mayoral Minute as I can. That the Mayoral Minute dated 22/12/1 be received, that an ordinary council meeting be held on the 27th of the 1st at 6:30, that a workshop be held Wednesday the 19th at 5:30 to organise amendments to council's code of meeting practice so that the public forum will be part of council's ordinary and extraordinary meeting. Other amendments to the code of meeting practice will also be made. These amendments will be discussed and will be put in a draft form to the January meeting. The council immediately advertised community groups interested in hosting public meetings to discuss council meetings. These public meetings will be held once a month, business forums bi-monthly, that a report be prepared for the February 22 meeting. That at the February 22 meeting, the council are to be presented with a required policy with amendments included that will allow for cash payments to be accepted at all council operated facilities. That a workshop will be held to discuss amendments to the following policies: to the code of conduct, compliance and enforcement, debt recovery, local orders policy, media relations policy, social media and tree management policies. that all expenditure plans and actions related to the development of council's library hub be abandoned, and that the general manager be invited to present a report to the meeting of the 21st of the 1st outlining the use of the federal grant money for the purpose-built archive that is located in the proposed position of the library hub. The report will include staffing requirements, that the general manager be invited to advertise for expressions of interest for the community group to facilitate removal and replacement of the gateway signage. The councillors are presented with a report at the February meeting detailing the cost of replacing one of the gateway signs with a sign chosen by Deanna Spicer from her designs. That the general manager be invited to provide a report to council with options on how to manage a complaints committee that is operated locally. The committee will deal with disputed fines and disputed orders. That the general manager be invited to provide a report to the March 22 ordinary council meeting that details the structure of operations of former 355 known as the Regional Tourism Association, with the view to re-establish the committee. The goal of the committee will be to market tourism and encourage migration to the city. That the general manager be invited to provide a report to council detailing the requirements for dedicated full-time council employed staff to maintain footpaths and nature strips. That over 6 million collected from waste disposal from the Wentworth to Broken Hill pipeline is removed from the library hub project reserve and placed into general projects reserve. The council forms a 355 committee that deals with all matters that affect our senior citizens, and that the formation of the committee is to be advertised to the community for membership and expressions of interest. The council forms a 355 committee that has the role of bringing projects and services to the city that benefit young children, teenage children and young adults, and that the formation of the committee will advertise for expressions of interest sought. That the general manager be invited to provide a report to be presented to the council detailing what amendments need to be made to the constitutions of all 355 committees as to provide more autonomy to the committees to operate and manage the council facilities. That the mayor be invited to organise a meeting with local member Roy Butler and Essential Water as early as possible to significantly accelerate the process to open the Imperial Lakes. That a site visit is organised with Essential Energy for councillors to view the Imperial Lake. That the general manager be invited to obtain an independent engineer's report into the safety of the dam wall. Expressions of interest are advertised immediately for community representation on working groups to facilitate volunteers in the opening of the lake. And that Landcare and Rana be contacted to gauge interest. That options to increase street lighting be referred to policy in general. That the general manager be invited to immediately advertise for expressions of interest for community to form a working party to provide council with advice on projects that council undertakes with a view to reduce council's reliance on consultants. That the general manager be invited to hold a workshop to explain the councillors how line budgets were implemented for the 22-23 budget. That the mayor be invited to host a meeting with the local state member Roy Butler and the local federal member Mark Coulton, and that John Lynch and representatives of the Royal Flying Doctors are invited to discuss proposals and options for an airport upgrade. That the options to increase childcare be referred to Policy and General Committee. That the Works Committee discuss and provide options for the removal of residential waste gate charges. This will also apply to commercial businesses that are disposing of residential rubbish. That the committee will also discuss green waste and other recycle options. Any findings will be discussed at a number of public meetings. That the general manager be invited to provide the council with a report detailing legal expenditure to defend against the Ombudsman's report into the occupation certificate and civic centre usage. That the report will detail any decision to expend funds to mount such defence. This report will be provided to the February meeting. That the general manager be invited to hold a workshop on the 24th at 5:30 p.m. to provide council with all reports and information pertaining to the Civic Centre litigation. That the Policy and General Committee consider proposals to reduce commercial and industrial rates and to make residential rates more equitable. That the general manager be invited to advertise for expressions of interest to paint murals and provide other street art, and that the report be provided to the January 27th meeting explaining why the proposed mural in Argent Street from the Country Women's Association was rejected and options to invite them to resubmit their application. That the Policy and General Committee investigate the cost for council to provide more focus on applying for grant funding and the opportunity to apply for grant funding, local organisations as a fee for service. That the Mayor be invited to send correspondence to local member Roy Butler asking to make representations to the state government on behalf of Broken Hill community to have permanent Wentworth pipeline subsidy implemented. That Roy be asked to facilitate a meeting with the appropriate minister to meet with the Mayor and Roy to discuss the subsidy. That the General Manager be invited to provide council with a report report on the progress of the netball Norm Fox redevelopment, and a tour is organised with councillors to see all council parks, ovals and sporting facilities. That the General Manager be invited to organise a meeting with iPartner Central Energy to discuss options to increase water usage at a lower cost so that the city may be greened. That the Mayor be invited to send correspondence to local member Roy Butler to ask him to organise a meeting with the appropriate ministers to discuss the management of the Menindee Lakes and the Darling River flows. That the General Manager be invited to immediately advertise for expressions of interest for community remove dead trees. That the Works Committee investigate options to plant different tree species that are asset friendly and fast growing. That the General Manager be invited to provide councillors with a report on options to address the issues of roaming dogs and cats. That a meeting be organised of the committee that was formed to address this issue and the findings referred to the Policy and General Committee. That the General Manager be invited to provide a report about the process to get funding for a mining truck, car and motorbike museum. That the report will include previous reports on the matters and the offer made by Aprilia a number of years ago about mining assets. That the General Manager advertise expressions of interest to form a working group to address the homeless issue, drug and alcohol use and suicide prevention. That the General Manager be invited to provide a report to council detailing options to facilitate a truck wash and truck stop. That the General Manager be invited to provide a report to the January meeting about any positions in the employee structure that remain unfilled and the expense that to date for wages compared to budgeted amounts. Also the expected wage amount to the year end with only current positions filled. That the General Manager be invited to contact the appropriate Aboriginal organisations to facilitate communication for the purpose of establishing a green space area at the rear of Creedon Street. Could we have a seconder for that? Before someone does second that, I'll just ask the General Manager if he is happy with the timelines in there, or you'll need extra time with any of those.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. Only just having gone through it myself today, there is a few that we will require extra time for, but maybe I could provide a report at the January meeting with our timeline for discussion.
Yep, that'd be fine. Could that be included in the Mayoral Minute, the comments made by the General Manager that a time frame for some of these will be at the January meeting? Yeah. So could we have a seconder for that?
Second that.
What have Lacey got? Oh, she's done it. Yeah. Could any speakers against the Mayoral Minute?
Just one item, Madam Mr. Mayor. I'm happy with most of the items on relation to Mayoral Minute, but item 7, there's about the library, the cultural precinct hub. I'd like to speak against that one only, if I could.
You will have to, because it's a Mayoral Minute in its entirety, you will be speaking against the Mayoral Minute, even though you're only speaking against part of it, which is fine. So yes, Councillor Gallagher.
Just, I do apologise here, but in relation to the Mayoral Minute, in relation to item 7, we've had a lot of public consultation. We've had plans. We've put this forward. We've applied council time in relation to the amount of money we got from federal $8.7 million. That is for a specific grant. It can't be used for anything else but what it is done for. This is when you look in grants, specific grants, the state government might give us money, but that can be moved around. The BHP where that could be probably, I'm not quite sure, that could be moved around. In relation to the cultural precinct, we call it a library hub. It's not just a library hub, it's a cultural precinct, which has been on the books for many a year. We've had public consultations, we've had people here, we've had people around looking at it. This is something for Broken Hill. It is an amphitheatre. It is a lay music centre. It is a centre that we can have our children go there and have movies made, CDs made. It's not just a library, it's a meeting place. I don't want to speak all about the Mayoral Minute, but this one in particular. We'll be losing $8.7 million. It cannot be taken anywhere else. If people can say it is, I'll tell you now it is not. That is the reason why I speak against the motion by the Mayoral Minute.
Question to Councillor Gallagher. Please explain about the 8.7 million and why it can't be spent anywhere else.
The situation is it was a grant specifically given for a project. When you do projects for that amount of money, it is a specific item. It can't be moved around. There can be variations, there can be extensions, but the situation is when there's $8.7 million, in my belief of what I've looked and what I've checked out at the present stage, that it must be done for that specific purpose, nothing else. It will go back if we don't do that project for the cultural precinct.
So it's your belief or you know that it can't go?
I've had dealings with federal and state government or federal government grants before, and in my opinion, it can't be changed. That's only my opinion.
So now it's an opinion.
I'll speak for.
Hang on, Councillor Holgate. So now it's an opinion. Have you met with Mark Coulton, the federal member, about this?
I haven't spoken to Mr. Coulton in relation to it, but I do know in previous dealings with federal government grants and in other areas that the money does go back.
Bit disappointed with those comments, Councillor Gallagher. It started off as factual, then it became an opinion. We've got members of the public here. They rely on a lot of what councillors have to say. And I have met with Mark Coulton, so you are wrong there. Very disappointed that you'd make the comments that you've made in this chamber as a guarantee when you were wrong. So very disappointed, and I'll say it in my address, but at this stage, I'm very disappointed that you'd make comments that you don't really know about. You didn't make the time to meet with the federal member to find this out. You come here, you made a comment at this council chamber in front of councillors, in front of the public, without finding out the information. Very disappointed. Councillor Holgate.
Oh, sorry. Speak for the Mayoral Minute. As a whole, I think the Mayoral Minute is extremely comprehensive. It involves a hell of a lot of work for councillors and the General Manager in particular, and the council staff, but it's a starting point. We as a team, Councillor Kennedy's team set a range of targets, and a lot of those targets are listed in the Mayoral Minute. There are some that are still outstanding, but generally, each of those items have been discussed quite specifically by at least our team, and that's what we put forward before we were elected. That was the basis of our campaign, and we intend to stick to our promises as best we can, given the budget constraints that might apply. But in terms of the library, I believe that when the mayor received a 54% of the vote, the total vote in Broken Hill, and the council team that he leads, recorded a 50% slice of the votes, that in itself, to me, is a mandate that really supports the things that we put forward during our election campaign. If the people didn't like what we put in our campaign advertising and our notes, they wouldn't have voted for us. But 50% voted for the councillor team and 55% or 54% voted for the mayor. That, to me, is a clear mandate to do what we set out to do. and the library is one part of it. I've spoken at length on numerous occasions about not being in favour of the library as it's set out. Yes, it hasn't been mentioned tonight, but the archives do need attention. And like Councillor Kennedy said, we've spoken as a team. We've spoken to the member, Mark Coulton. Councillor Kennedy has also spoken to Roy Butler, the local member. It's not as if we've been waiting to be either elected or not elected. We've done a bit of homework before we actually got to this stage, and a lot of thought went into those two mayoral minutes. And what always amazes me is that at one meeting of the council going back a couple of 4 years or 3 years ago, something like that, I don't know, I can't remember exactly the times, there was a report to the council that the council needed to review the hours of operation of the library because the patronage was down. And at that time, the hours of operation or opening hours of the library were reduced. I think even Sunday was closed altogether. And then at either the next meeting or the one after, the council come down to build a $25 million new library hub complex. And every time I mentioned a library, I was told it's not a library, it's a hub. It's got a lounge, it's got coffee shops, a coffee shop and all the rest of it. Another coffee shop to compete with all the ones that are already in Argent Street in the main block. The other thing is the whole gist of the library hub was based on the fact that this library hub was going to bring people back into Argent Street. I have not seen a business report or an explanation of how it brings them back into Argent Street. The thing that brings people back into Argent Street are businesses. And the businesses that are already in Argent Street are bloody struggling hard to keep the doors open. So, you know, libraries don't bring people to any other place but the library. And I just don't understand. In terms of the money that Councillor Gallagher says can't be moved, there's no such thing as can't be moved. We've been given an indication that every effort would be considered. And nothing is set in concrete. The BHP money is not set in concrete. We've seen that from the word go. There's been lots of things bandied around about the BHP money. Let's hope the new council can source that money for a proper purpose. And rather than go on, I support the Mayoral Minute, both 1 and 2, and I'm delighted to be a part of that.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Do we have any speakers against the Mayoral Minute? Councillor Brown?
Yes, Councillor Kennedy, just a couple of points. Also, firstly, on item 7 about the library hub, the library, there's no mention, I note in this, about the library itself. The new councillors might not be aware that the very detailed reports we received some years ago about the current condition of the library itself made it very clear that the cost and the ongoing cost of replacing the air conditioning, which is pretty well defunct, the ongoing cost of managing that building is far greater than the cost of a future rebuilt library. There's also the fact that the state government, according to the state government guidelines on the library space, the size of the current library is half of what it should be for a community of this size. Councillor Allgate seemed to be suggesting that the discussion about the modification to the library hours a few years ago reflected some, wide spread, loss of patrons. As I recall it, that was a financial decision which was very strongly resisted by the group of people who use the library on Sundays. And I can recall one of the regular users standing on the corner with a placard saying, "Keep the library open." So it's not true to say that went unnoticed. It was a necessary change to balance the budget, so to speak, to make it affordable. But I just again reiterate that the library itself is a necessary community facility. There are 6,000 members of the library, probably more members of the library than there are members of many sporting clubs. So their needs do need to be taken into consideration. There are basic guidelines for the provision of a public library. We should be very proud of our public library. As I recall, I think it was the first one in New South Wales, and it really needs to be fit for purpose to serve the needs of our community. So that's one item. I have a comment about item 26. I mean, that's more of a question of timing with the discussions about the roles of some of these committees and referring that public art, the public art and murals in Argent Street and so on to the Works Committee. We do currently have a public art policy that is sponsored, I suppose, by the art gallery, the Regional Art Gallery Committee. So I can just see some of these things need to be sorted in terms of the timing of them and how they'll be managed. But there are, as I see it, whatever the outcome is, there are some issues there. So you don't want one committee saying something and another committee saying something else before the policies, are changed if they're going to be. Yes, and just a small comment about item 36 about the working group to address the homeless issue, drug and alcohol use. Council has already promised and guaranteed support to the development of the rehab centre, which is certainly part of this. So I wouldn't want council officers to be sort of, using a lot of energy kind of recreating the wheel with some of these things that are already, well and truly in train. So they're well and truly happening. I think there's a big workload here in these in this Mayoral Minute, and I just don't want to see council staff having to waste time sort of doing things that have already have been done or in the process of happening. Thanks, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Do we have any speakers for the Mayoral Minute?
Councillor Kennedy, I'd like to speak for the Mayoral Minute.
You are welcome, Councillor Boland.
I believe with the library, the community, I 100% support Councillor Allgate's comments that the community has voted very well and clear that they do not support the library in its current state. $8.4 million is fine from the federal government, but my concern is how much will it cost in total? 8.4 million, and then we get a $30 million library, for example. Well, are the ratepayers going to be paying, stumping up that extra money? The money could be better spent improving all facilities in the city, including the library at a more affordable cost, and improving our parks, gardens, roads, footpaths. And I 100% agree with Councillor Allgate. The community has spoken, and they've spoken against the library in its current form, not forgetting the library altogether, but certainly in its current form. There's no business case for it that I've seen. How much will the library cost to operate in its current form is a question that also needs to be asked. So 100% support the Mayoral Minute and the mandate that the community of Broken Hill has given it. The newly elected council.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Do we have any further speakers against the Mayoral Minute?
Thank you,
Councillor Turley.
Councillor Kennedy. And my only concern about the Mayoral Minute is the lack of identification for funding. And so does the goddess believe in that.
Welcome, Tom. Welcome. No, it's-
Yes, you, Mr. Mayor, should you go and check the bill?
Another job for the general manager. I know, you're right, Councillor Turley.
Yeah, look, although I support quite a few of these amendments or motions, given that they're in block and there's no identification for the funding, where the money's going to come from, I think it's a mistake to go forward with the Mayoral Minute and ask consideration be given to defer it and bring it back, identifying where the funding's going to come from for all 39 recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Turley. No further speakers? I will just briefly go over my thoughts and speak in favour of my Mayoral Minute. There's many things in here that are very important. You had a member of the public get up tonight to speak about dogs. That's in there. We need to address it. We're talking about, another speaker spoke about rates. That's being addressed. There is the art trees. That's in there. That was mentioned tonight. It's no coincidence that the people that have got up tonight from the gallery to speak have spoken about the same things that are in this Mayoral Minute. The things that are in this Mayoral Minute are the things that the public told us about before the election. This is not something that I made up or the councillors made up. I, as mayor, received over 54% of the vote, saying exactly what's here, that 39 things that are in this Mayoral Minute were the 39 things that were on the flyer that was handed out by me as mayor and the group as councillors. The group of councillors received over 50% of the vote. That's more than half. That's more than all the other councillors combined. So when we talk about making sure we represent the community, I'm glad that the councillors that put their point of view forward to the election come in and push their advice. But don't expect us as a majority to ignore the people that voted for us. The people that voted for us because of what we said. And we said those things not because we made it up, because it's what we heard. There was a number of things that were said. The 8.4 million in grant funding. Now, we did meet with the federal member, Mark Coulton, and he asked what we thought of the archives. Now, the archives are what was always about. The BHP money was about the archives. It was about digitising the archives and having a home for the archives. There was a little bit of extra money put for parklets and all this sort of stuff, but the money from BHP was for the archives, not a library. Anyone thinks that the BHP is interested in a library has to be kidding themselves. BHP is interested in an archive and digitising the archives. Mark Coulton said if we can get and we can show community support for an archives, he will talk immediately to the minister and try to get that money for the archives. The 8.4 million. Now, I've heard plenty of speaking about the libraries funded. It is funded to 8.4 million. That is it. And some of that is for Argent Street. So it's not funded. It's far from funded. And if it costs $30 million, it'll be $22 million short. The 6.5 million that they're talking about, council's contribution, belongs to us, the community, 6.5 million. We can spend that where we like. We could open Pura Lake, we could build a mining museums, or we could clean every street in Broken Hill. That's what the money's there for. Don't let this council or anyone else have you think that that 6.5 million was earmarked. It's earmarked for the library simply because councillors chose to put it there. The 2.8 million that the state government is contributing is a grant that can go to anywhere. So instead of that 2.8 million spent on what the public chooses to spend it on, the councillors here, that some of the councillors still want to spend that 2.8 million on a library rather than let the community decide where they'd prefer to spend $2.8 million. The 5.7 million from BHP funding, we will get that back, and we'll get it back for an archives and digitisation. So don't think for a minute that we've lost that $5.7 million because we don't want to build a library. That is misinformation. That is information that is provided to promote one person's view. The library use hours were reduced before Councillor Allgate's completely right. The Sunday thing went a long way back. Council recently reduced library hours just before they announced funding for a new library because there was a 25% reduction in library use. That is not a mistake or something made up. That was a report that was given to council. As for the public art policy, council committee, the works committee is a committee of all councillors. It takes precedent over 355 committees. It is the committee that reports or makes recommendations directly to the council. There's one other thing that was brought up here. Sorry. With the drug and alcohol, that was a lot of that was pushed through the Our Community working group, which I was the chairman of. That is quite easily amalgamated within what is wanted to be achieved here. This isn't about stopping what's going on. This is about adding to. I don't know how many other councillors have been out there. I don't know how many people in the community. One of the things that concern people greatly is the use of ice in the community. If we as a council can deal with that, it will be a much better community. If suicide is high in Broken Hill, what sort of council would we be not to want to look at preventing suicide? And this is the reason I moved this mayoral minute and the reason it was seconded. And I hope that it is passed here tonight. So I will thank you everyone. I will put this mayoral minute to the vote. All those in favour of the mayoral minute? In favour of the mayoral minute, we have Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Alan Chandler, Deputy Mayor Jim Hickey. Against, we have Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Thank you, councillors. I declare the mayoral minute carried, and we move. Thank you. We move on to the. Do you want a adjournment or something? Does everyone happy for a 10-15-minute adjournment? There's toilets that can be used and, hey? No, you can stay in here. I'm just about to climb up on the roof and fix up the aerial. Oh yeah, that's what Darren's about to do because the air cooler's stopped. We'll just have a little break. Everyone stretch their legs and. I'll just say that 5 minutes is stopping, and the minutes will be done from
Yeah, so we're good to go. I'll just record off here.
I'll record.
So
you're gonna
the
record
mic will come through this.
Okay.
And
And we'll still just take some notes just in case.
Yeah. So if I turn,
Hopefully we'll go quicker now. Should have got Ben I said to Ben, oh, you can go, that'll be all right.
yeah, well, I saw when he left. I was like, oh. So
We didn't
audio
I wasn't
to
expecting this.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get back in.
yep, we're good to go.
And I'll just say that minutes are no longer live. It'll be, that way you won't even have to keep up as we're going.
We will, I'll still take them just in case.
No, you want to tape,
Yeah, I'll
but
still
just
take it, yeah.
if you fall behind, just
Yeah, we'll get them out
get it.
from the recording. Excuse me to shoot through before we lose all that.
You're okay for me to stay down there?
No, you can stay down there. Yeah, you can hear fine.
Righto, everyone, we all ready to get back into it? With that precision motion, I'm going to bring that as an amendment. What I'll do is I'll invite you to write it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so it'll be I'll just tell Rob who's moved it to include that you come back to every meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, we used to always have people that wanted to get home from home and away. Just that was back in the days when it was good. Righto. Well, let's we'll wait for the other councillors. We better. They've moved your name tag, councillor Alan. Only joking. Sorry. We went out, yeah. Can't get it back up. It won't be back up tonight. So we'll be going on without it. So we'll re-adjourn the meeting. The meeting minutes will be kept live as possible, but the reality is that there are, because of what's happened, we'll be relying on recordings, but keeping it as up to date. So it won't be able to visually be able to read the minutes, but they'll still be being taken live and being checked via recording. So we will go back to the meeting, and the next agenda item is rescission motions, and I've received a late rescission motion from Councillor Aldgate, Councillor Hickey and Councillor Boland. I will accept it as a matter of urgency, and I don't think we need a motion to bring them forward because rescission motions are this agenda item. Would you like to talk to your rescission motion or move your rescission motion, Councillor Aldgate?
Not really. Not really.
I'll read your rescission motion out then, councillor Allgate. In accordance with section 372, clause 4 of the Local Government Act 1993, we, the undersigned, submit the following rescission motion. That's that the rescission motion dated January 12, 22 be received. The council rescind resolution minute number 46679, adoption of the draft workplace COVID vaccine policy. And that at number 3, that the general manager be invited to prepare a report for the February meeting to resubmit or an updated policy. Is that, you're happy?
That's correct.
Yeah. Any speakers against the rescission motion?
Just, Councillor Kennedy, I'm not clear on what the amended, there's no sense in there of what the change to the policy is being sought.
So if minute number 46679 is passed and the motion is rescinded, then what was passed at the meeting where the draft workplace COVID-19 vaccine policy was passed, and that no longer exists in that form.
But isn't there an additional clause there asking the general manager to come down with an amended policy?
There's no need, there's no requirement for an amended policy if the resolution actually gets rid of what's already there. So what it is it's gone.
So,
and the general manager's been invited to resubmit a report for the February meeting.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, really. So a report about what, to say that the policy hasn't worked, or proposing another policy? I just don't understand what the general manager is being asked to do.
Proposed to resubmit a COVID-19 vaccination policy.
Right, but with no direction as to what that policy should contain. I mean, if I was the general manager,
I'm quite happy to take number 3 out if the general manager would like that taken out.
Thanks, Councillor Cameron. It's ultimately up to council what's in the motion, but I'm envisaging that the report of the February council meeting that I'd prepare would include the reasons why we've got the COVID-19 vaccination policy and some possible alternate options that council could pursue.
Thank you. General Manager Jane, that's exactly what I think Councillor Allgate meant by it.
Yes, Councillor Kennedy. It was to have a full review of that. I voted against it at the start because I thought it was too. It was all encompassing, and there were, as far as I'm concerned, I could see problems arising if the workplace, if it was about workplace policy and workers or employees, fine. But when it went to volunteers and all the rest of all workplaces, we started getting a few problem areas there. On the one hand, we're talking about people can will be able to eventually pay their bills in cash over the counter at the admin centre, workplaces at the library, all council facilities. When you start talking about all of these restrictions that are going to be placed, I think it's just too much. And the other thing is, it's not to be reviewed until 2025, which is just ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. And that's the reason I put it in. That's the reason we put it in.
So is there any speakers against the rescission motion? No, I'll put the rescission motion to the vote. All those in favour? We have Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, and Deputy Mayor Jim Hickey. In favour, against, we have Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Thank you, councillors. The rescission motion was passed. Thank you, everyone. We are now moving to reports. The first report is being dealt with, which was the election of the deputy mayor. The second report is on report number 2/222 on page 20, deals with casual vacancies of councillors after the December 4 election. Do we have any councillors that wish to move a motion?
I'll move that one.
Thank you, councillor. Do we have a seconder? Seconder, councillor Turley. Speakers against the motion?
Just tell me what item we're on.
Item 2, 18 months of councillors within 18 months. If there's a casual vacancy, instead of going to an election, we will go to count that.
Sorry.
Page 20.
Page 20.
We have any speakers against the
I'll move.
move an amendment, councillor Aldgate? Your amendment?
Just give a second. I'll move that item 1 be the same. Recommendation item 1 be the same. That we delete item 2.
Yep.
And that we leave item 3 as is. Which means that if a councillor resigns, we have a by-election.
So all that will be required there, councillor Aldgate, rather than move an amendment. If we vote against this this motion that's been passed, it'll have the same effect. So the amendment would result in the opposite of what's being moved there. There's no need to move an amendment. Would you like to speak against what has been moved as the motion?
Well, I suppose I could just add the comment, as far as I'm concerned, people, the councillors here have put their hands up to represent the community, and as far as I'm concerned, there really should be no avenue to get out if you just decide you want to finish. As far as I'm concerned, those that are nominated should be here for the full term. Obviously, if there's an illness or something like that, well, we resort to have a fair by-election in the usual manner, not to have a comeback.
Thank you, councillor Aldgate. Any speakers for the motion? Councillor Brown?
Yes, councillor Kennedy. I don't have hugely strong feelings about this, but I think, this is what's recommended is a sensible option for financial reasons as much as anything else. There's a great difference in the cost between a countback. I'm not quite sure how long that takes, but I think probably fairly straightforward, and running by-elections probably $100,000 difference. I think I'm quite confident that everyone, all the elected members who are here tonight are, fully intending to stay for the full term. But you can't predict things that happen, and sometimes it's beyond people's control that causes unexpected vacancies. So I just think this is a sensible option. It is a new option that has just been introduced, and I think it's a sensible way to go. It saves a lot of money and certainly a lot of effort.
Any further speakers against?
Councillor Kennedy, I speak against. I believe if there is a casual vacancy that comes up, and obviously I feel that every councillor elected will fulfil the full term, but obviously we can't predict the future with illness, etc. That the people of Broken Hill should choose the replacement, not through a countback. I 100% support the community of Broken Hill choosing through the ballot any casual vacancy that may become from this council.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Boland. Any speakers for? Councillor Turley.
Councillor Kennedy. Just a good point put forward by Councillor Boland about the community should vote for the order. And they did that on the 4th of December. They voted for an order of people that, that would be selected. And in that, there will be people that are number 11 on the ticket that could come up into the position. I cannot reiterate enough that what Councillor Brown has said is the importance of the cost to the public when the public have already voted on the order if an account back would do that.
Any further speakers against? Just for the benefit of the community, what's been moved is that if a councillor fails to be a councillor, instead of going to an election, it'll go on a count back. Give you an idea if either Councillor Gallagher or Councillor Page resign, then one on their ticket, Councillor Dinny Reardon will be elected. If Councillor Brown or Turley go down on a count back, then Councillor Branko Lacour will be elected. On a count back, if someone on our ticket goes out because we have no one to replace us and our votes above the line would then flow on, Gigi Barb would be elected. So I think that when you speak about the community have voted, the only group that can lose out on a count back is the group that people voted 54% for mayor and over 50% for councillor. I think it would be a shame to think that money, and let's just understand that an election would be a preferential election that is nothing like a council election, is far cheaper than a normal election. When you're talking about money, you do not take the will of the majority of people and replace it with the minority of people. So that's for so that everyone in the gallery understands exactly what a countback results in. And I hope the councillors also understand that. So I will put it to the vote. All those in favour of the motion?
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Brown.
Is that isn't my understanding of how the countback would work. I thought it was the candidate who would have been next elected, who was closest to the last one elected, not necessarily the member of the team.
So,
would it be possible to ask the general manager to clarify that?
No, I'll answer that question, Councillor. What happens is the Labor ticket received about 1,800 votes above the line. If you, for example, were to pull out, your name would be taken out and those votes would be redistributed in the order without your name on the ballot paper, which would mean that the 1,800 votes above the line would then be redistributed. So many would go to Councillor Turley, then so many would, your name wouldn't be there and it would then flow on to Councillor Lacour. Same for Councillor Gallagher. The difference between that and our ticket is there's no seventh person for our votes to flow on to. So all those in favour of the motion? We have Councillor Gallagher, we have Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. All those against? We have Councillor Boland, Councillor Aldgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Deputy Mayor Jim Hickey and myself. I declare the motion lost. Move on to item 3. electoral funding obligations. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Oh, sorry, Councillor Brown, sorry. Move Councillor Brown, do you have a seconder? Seconder, councillors?
The amendment was, the motion that was.
No, we're on to item 3, sorry.
You dealt with it the wrong way.
There's no amendment, councillor.
The motion was lost, then the.
There was no, the motion's lost, that's it. No.
You're there to chair the meeting.
Listen, councillor Page. If you're going to say that I've made a mistake, then you voice what mistake I've had. You won't be sitting there saying you've made a mistake and say, go to the gallery here, pretending I've made a mistake. Voice your concern and tell me what it is, and I will explain to you what's happened.
Mr. Mayor, your job is to chair the meeting. And at the moment, I don't like to criticise you because.
You're out of order, councillor Page. You're out of order. You're out of order. You don't tell me how to chair it. I chair the meeting. I chair it the way I want to chair it. Do you understand? You were wrong.
I understand you.
Don't tell me I can't debate. I can do what I like from the chair. Thank you, councillor Page. What was that a threat?
I don't make threats, but your conduct has to be acceptable. You're not here to debate. You're here to.
I'll move a mayoral minute at this time. Does any councillor think that my conduct as a chairman of the meeting is out of order?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. We're actually in the middle of a vote.
I have, just as a mayoral minute takes precedent, councillor Turley. I think you'd know as the mayor what takes precedent. I'm moving a mayoral minute. I will adjourn put the other item on hold. I've moved a mayoral minute. Does any other councillor in this room believe that the way this, or even, I'd even include the gallery, does anyone in this room believe that the chairing of this meeting has been anything but good?
Yes, I agree.
Put up your hand. So the motion is, if you think that it's bad, vote against, but if you think that the chairing's been completely acceptable, please vote in favour. All those in favour? Right, so in favour is Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Alan Chandler, Councillor Deputy Mayor Jim Hickey and Mayor Kennedy. Against is Councillor Turley, Councillor Brown, Councillor Gallagher and Councillor Page. For the record, it was lost. The mayoral minute was won. The comment from Councillor Page was wrong. Thank you. We'll move on. Back to item 3. Disclosures of obligations. We had a mover, which was Councillor Brown. Do we have a seconder?
I second that.
Seconded Councillor Allgate. All those, any speakers for? Any speakers against? There's no speaker. Oh no, this is, any speakers against? No. All those in favour? I declare it carried unanimously. Item 4 is the Broken Hill City Council's delegations of function. Do we have a mover for item 4?
I'll move the motion, Councillor Kennedy.
Your motion, Councillor Allgate?
Is that we defer this matter until the January meeting, and that we have a workshop to go through the delegations prior to the January meeting. The new councillors need to know and have an understanding of just what's being delegated, as we do ourselves. And I think it's only appropriate that we defer this to a workshop so that the actual delegations will be decided on the January 26th meeting.
Just before you move and second that, Would you be happy for it to be the February meeting, councillor Allgate, to give the general manager enough time to prepare a report?
Sure.
Seconded, Deputy Mayor Hickey. Any speakers against? Councillor Brown?
Yes, Councillor Kennedy, I can recall quite clearly when I think you yourself moved a similar sort of deferral motion about delegation, and it was made very clear that the general manager, the council can't operate without delegations. It's not possible, you know, for work to be done and people to be paid and the staff to come in and anything else without that. So with your indulgence, I'd like to hear from the general manager about whether that's feasible as a whole to defer that all of those delegations. But I just I don't want to see the council come to a screaming halt because nothing can be done.
I'll answer that question, Councillor Brown. The delegations that the general manager currently has remain in place until we change them. All those in favour? Anyone? No need to speak. All those in favour? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Alan Chandler, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Hickey, and Councillor Mayor Kennedy. All those against? Councillor Page, Councillor Turley, and Councillor Brown. Item number 5 is the annual fees for councillors and the mayor. Do we have anyone willing to move a motion?
I'd like to move a motion, Councillor Kennedy.
Yes, Councillor Boland.
I'd like to move that the fees remain the same as the previous year, and we're a newly elected council. We need time. Obviously, we know that there's been some issues, and I think we need to prove ourselves to the City of Broken Hill and the ratepayers of Broken Hill before we expect any increases to councillor fees. So I will move to for the councillor fees to remain as they were.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. You have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Allgate. Any speakers against? No speakers. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Kennedy. You might not be surprised to hear me speak against this. This seems to be a regular thing without much success, I have to say. In fact, what we would be voting for is a decrease, continual decrease of the councillor allowance. This is again maybe for the I might be telling the new newly elected councillors something they already know, but this is based on a recommendation from the Remuneration Tribunal. It's not something we've dreamed up ourselves, and it's based on the very strong consideration of the workload involved in being councillors. It's a very sort of modestly a little bit less in the middle, I think, of the range that's prescribed to us. It just concerns me that we are with setting these allowances. We're not only
just one sec, Councillor Brown. Could councillors not speak too loud while other councillors are speaking? Sorry, Councillor Brown. It was just, I don't know, it was annoying taking you.
Used to it, Councillor Kennedy. Now I've lost my train of thought.
You at the point where you were saying?
Oh yes, it's not just. I don't know the situation that any individual councillor finds themselves, but it is there's a lot of work involved in doing your job properly as a councillor, and quite frankly, it costs you money to do it. And that's been my experience over many years. You don't make anything. It costs you money, and it costs you time, and it costs you, relationships, or in the sense that it affects the amount of time you can spend with people and so on. And I think that the recommendations of the tribunal are more than reasonable. So if we keep reducing that, it's really, to me, showing a lack of respect for the position of councillor.
Thank you, councillor Brown. Speakers for the motion. Councillor Allgate.
Councillor Kennedy. I agree that there is a lot of work involved in being a councillor, having been one for quite some time. But more importantly, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the money should be what attracts anybody to be a councillor. As far as I'm concerned, we're here to represent the community and to give back in a civic-minded manner, to contribute to the betterment of the town. The money aspect is something that I personally don't think should come into it. As far as I'm concerned, the $18,000 that councillors receive is an adequate, more than adequate allowance as far as I'm concerned. And I don't see that we need more at this stage. And I've regularly voted against the increases, and I don't see any reason why I'll change my attitude, because as far as I'm concerned, you should be here because you want to be here for the betterment of the city, not for the betterment of the pocket or to be out of pocket or whatever. I can't understand how people can be out of pocket, to be honest, but we're all different, I suppose. As far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with the $18,000. $18,000 is not an insignificant amount. There are a lot of people who'd like to have an extra $18,000 in town, and I don't think we should get more, particularly when it's a new council and we haven't proved anything yet.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Any speakers against? All right, I shall put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those in favour? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, and Deputy Mayor Hickey. Sorry. And those against. Sorry, Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown, both against. Item 7, appointment of delegates to committees, December 21 appointment. Oh, sorry, councillor. Really? Oh no, that was the annual. Remunerations, Tribunal. Yeah, sorry. Item 6, local government remunerations Tribunal annual review. Do we have a mover for that? Move, councillor Brown. Seconded.
I'll second that.
Councillor Boland. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Brown?
There's not very much to say, Councillor Kennedy. I think we should be very grateful that we are categorised as this. We're sort of punching above our weight to a degree by being included in this category. So I don't think we should do anything to risk that. I think it's a good thing, and I'd certainly support it, and I think we should support it.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. I doubt anyone speaking against. No. Put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 7, which I almost dealt with in the wrong order. This is the appointment of delegates to committees. Do we have a mover? We have a mover. This is about the delegates to the committee. The Mayoral Minute was to ask for invitations of people to a thing and take it to the 26th meeting on the 27th. So the 27th. So it was in our it was in the Mayoral Minute to take it to the 27th January. So you'd probably be, by moving anything else other than that, it would be out of order anyway. So we have councillor Allgate moving that it be deferred to the 27th. Seconded councillor Hickey. Any speakers against that? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. So item 8 is the adoption of the councillor support policy. Do we have a mover for that? Moved councillor Brown, seconded councillor Page. Anyone, would you like to speak to that, councillor Brown?
Yes, I have a couple of small comment details really, but one's on, I'm just trying to find it. And I will find it. It's a section that's relating to reimbursement during travel. The policy at the moment covers payment by council of accommodation, but not meals and so forth that are taken as a result of that travel. So I don't know anyone who's been on a council conference, and I'm not assuming that there'll be lots of those in the future, has the irritation of having to pay for their meals if they've taken out the accommodation at the hotel, and then the council staff have got to check the policy when they get back and check the claim form. It just seems a bit nonsensical that you can't have council covers the accommodation, but you've got to pay for your breakfast, or if you have a meal at the same place of accommodation. I think that just needs to be tidied up. Also, I noticed that the policies, again, somewhere further on towards the end, mentions an iPad. I think that just needs to go. I think the language maybe needs to be cleared up. It's just a bit too specific, and it doesn't apply. We don't have iPads anymore. So I suppose I'm moving an amendment, that slide amendment to that policy, to make it more streamlined.
Would you be happy to provide a report for February with those adjustments, Jay?
Yeah.
You're happy with that, councillor Brown, to provide a report with those adjustments that you set in there?
Yeah, only mild.
Yeah, they're only mild. Do we have a seconder for that? Oh, councillor Page seconded it, did he? Yeah, sorry, you already seconded it, councillor Page. Or he hadn't. Was that the last one? Oh, he had it, yeah. Any speakers against? No. All those in favour? No, that's carried unanimously. Number 9 is the attendance and motions to the Local Government New South Wales Special Conference. Do we have a mover for the motion?
Before
Yes, councillor Gallagher.
9 o'clock, and I move motion to get us 9 o'clock.
For sure. So at 9 o'clock, we, in our current meeting procedures, we would stop at 9 unless there's a motion. So we have a motion from councillor Gallagher to continue. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Turley. All those in favour? All those in favour? None against. I declare it carried unanimously. On to item 9, councillors' attendance and motions to the Local Government New South Wales Special Conference held in Sydney on the 28th. Do we have a motion for that from a councillor? No motions?
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah, yes, sure, councillor.
What advantages do we have by being a member of the Local Governments Association? Is there any? I've spoken to numerous fellows from different councils that I know, and they all seem to have pulled out of it because they say that there's not much, benefit to country councils. It's mainly the city councils that it affects, and we don't seem to get much benefit for our buck. According to these guys, I don't.
Yeah. So you're talking about benefit for Broken Hill,
Yeah,
benefit for the council?
benefit for our council. Yeah.
Our council and
Yeah,
Broken Hill?
yeah,
or-
and Broken Hill.
Yeah. So I'm probably not the best person to answer that. I don't know if councillor Turley would like to respond.
Thank you, and good question. From our deputy mayor, congratulations to the deputy mayor. There's actually only 2 councils in New South Wales that are not members of local government New South Wales, and it provides an incredible support to our staff and to our councillors. So firstly, if I talk about the general manager and the staff, each of his organisations have a network that over COVID probably met weekly around what are the current legislations, what are the interpretations, what can we do to make sure local government is on the government's agenda. It's a lobbying body. It also provides a recruitment process and other areas. It's also a lobbying government body, or it's an industry body for motions for confidence for councils. So it is the body that has the door to the minister, to all the ministers and the premier, and it makes sure that we can lobby for change what suits Broken Hill. And we have done that over and over again. And I think at any stage, apart from the councillor mentor program, the mayoral mentor program, the training program that you're going to do next week, and we'll meet, I don't know who's presenting that, but there are many, many elements of what our membership covers. And I think for all of that, you know, we can certainly get information to the councils, but there's only 2 councils in New South Wales that are not members, because they all understand the value of it and what it means to have the new ministers here. I've already had a call from the minister before Christmas with my other hat on, but I think for all of us, there were times in this council, Councillor Kennedy and Aldgate and the returning councillors will recall when we needed legal advice as councillors about some ICAP issues. We had that direct from local government in New South Wales legal team. So whether it's recruitment, whether it's support for councillors, but more importantly, a lobby about good policy about how we can actually deliver better services, how can we improve grants, and that's the other thing we provide is grants to our services as well. Overall, you know, it is one of those organisations that is well valued by its members. I hope that's enough, but I can get some information to you. And the general manager may be able to provide what his experience is as if Mr. Mayor permits, Mr. Councillor Kennedy permits.
There was a second part to the question, and I'm happy for either the general manager or Councillor Turley to answer it. Councillor Aldgate asked what the direct benefit was to the Broken Hill community. I was having a bit of a read of it myself, and there's a lot of mention of local government. I think that's one of the reasons you've asked this is what Councillor Hickey's more asking for being a new councillor. He wants to know what the benefit is to the community, and I don't know if Councillor Turley or the general manager want to ask it, but was that the...
Yeah, it was what the town gets from it, because yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I get from a staff perspective, we do receive a lot of support, and it's only through the membership cost, so there's no additional out of hours, like additional hour services that we're provided support around any policy reform, legislation advice, legal advice, but also gives us a network that our different teams within council can also network with and have the same support. Without going into a huge amount of detail, which we can certainly provide, I guess one of the direct benefits, which was a topic of conversation tonight, is that local government in New South Wales actually lobbied for the rates reform that we have received. It's not exactly what Broken Hill City Council would have liked from the Office of Local Government, nor is it what local government New South Wales would have liked from the Office of Local Government. They're on the same page as Broken Hill City Council, but that lobbying from local government New South Wales did provide that additional push to actually have some rates reform, that we are now more flexible in how we rate the different businesses and industries across our local government area. So that's one direct benefit, but without going into a number of others, which I'd have to do a little bit more research on.
And I think when you look at, sorry, Mr Mayor.
Just Councillor Turley first, Councillor Allgate, just
If you look at the motions that go to council, one of the things we also talked about tonight was the Companion Animals Act. And that's one thing that we're working on at the moment to change. So there are many, many areas that, you know, to give you a quick synopsis, but I'm happy to provide absolutely further information of the success of local government in New South Wales, and how it's affected Broken, particularly around the motions we've sent up to council for change. And that's the ones that we'll bring back and show you what we've been successful about. Thank you.
we have a mover, Councillor Allgate, you moving the motion? We still haven't got a mover. If there's any motions here.
No, I'm about to ask a question.
Oh, yeah, no, go for it.
I wonder if the general manager could tell us what the membership cost is annually for to join.
Thanks, Councillor. I don't have that off the top of my head at the moment. I can bring it back to councillors. Our annual membership fee, it's in the teens.
It's in the teens, Councillor Allgate. But the general manager will get to the next meeting, Jay, and plus just by email.
Yeah, I can just circulate that cost tomorrow, and don't quote me. I might be off this from memory, but we can provide it.
Could I just make a comment? Following on from what Councillor Hickey has said and Councillor Turley, when, from my perspective, when the local government, New South Wales local government and Shires Association was combined, I felt as an employee at the time and now as a councillor that the council did get some tangible benefits. We could see them ourselves, but since the Shires broke away, or the
since it was amalgamated.
Association went on its own. I'm not sure if that's right. No, but anyway, they separated.
No, they've amalgamated. So it was the Shires Association and the Local Government Association.
Oh, they are together now.
Yeah, they never used to be together. We used to be members of the Shires Association and the local government. We used to get a good deal with the Shires.
Yeah, well, that was my concern. I thought
No, and Mr Mayor is right, Councillor Kenny is right, is that instead of paying two fees, we amalgamated, so it's just one fee. So we weren't out of pocket for more money.
Right. Well, that resolves my question. I'd still like to know what the membership fee is and how the membership fees compares with what tangible benefits you might get.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Do we have a mover for a motion? I'll move it as a mayoral minute. We seem to be having trouble getting the councillor to move the motion.
Councillor Kennedy.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Brown. Happy we're having trouble getting someone.
No. This calls for. I mean, there are several. Obviously, there are several parts to this recommendation. Again, I don't have a view as to the number of delegates who should go or who the voting delegates should be, but that's something that needs to be resolved. I don't have a particular wish to go myself, but it might be something. I believe that attendance at conferences, assuming it is an in-person conference, is a really valuable thing, especially for new councillors. To get an idea of the feel of local government in the state, and to meet people and to see how things go. So I would certainly encourage people to consider going. But the other part is submission of motions. For that, we already have one motion as the contribution from the floor, from the community suggestion. I personally would be very happy to support that as an additional motion to go. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, this is a little bit a little bit woolly, so because I've left the question of the voting delegates and the attendees open, but I'd certainly like to move that we add that community motion to our submission for motions for consideration.
Righto, so what is your actual motion? We're just
Yeah,
it's just one thing.
Yeah, I would be pleased to consult with Ms. Barb at the end of the meeting, because I thought her wording was quite well done. I'd be happy to do that and give it to you afterwards.
All right, then any speakers against?
I wouldn't speak against as such, Councillor Kennedy, but I'd really like to have the cost factor.
Councillor Orgate, sorry.
I'm not speaking against, but I'd like to have the cost factor provided before I voted. Cost of membership.
So the membership's $33,000. The general manager just informed me. If to put it this way, if the motion that's passed that Councillor Brown just met, there will be no one going to the conference. I don't know if any councillors were planning to go to the conference. I don't know. There's a number of things in here, and Councillor Turley was completely right. We have a motion now that's more or less doesn't even receive. We've got a motion to send off an amendment, a thing that we're not sure whether the community is supportive of or not. It's just being brought to a council tonight from a member of the public. Are the community for it? Are we sending delegates? Do we have a councillor that's going to move a motion? I'm happily to step out of the chair and move a motion. Councillor Hickey, if you take over the chair. Yeah, and I'm going to remove an amendment.
So you want to move the motion?
No,
Yeah,
you've got to deal with
we've got it.
Councillor Brown's motion. I'm
Yeah,
moving down to the chair
Councillor
because I'm going
Kennedy,
to.
just to maybe clarify this, I'll move that in line with previous practice. Councillors be asked, maybe have a limit of 3 councillors who wish to attend, but if councillors wish to attend, they notify your office accordingly, so arrangements can be made. And based on the response to that, the mayor can decide who the voting delegates are. And that would satisfy what's asked for.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I will second it, Councillor Hickey.
Right.
And can I just add, Mr. Councillor Hickey, that I'll declare that I won't be applying to go through council for this conference, and encourage others to apply.
Right. Thanks, Councillor.
Councillor Hickey,
Councillor Bowman.
I'd like to move an amendment. The amendment that the Broken Hill City Council report dated December 7, 2021 be received. The council notes the local government New South Wales special conference, including debate resolutions and motion from the member council setting LG New South Wales advocacy agenda for 22 will be held in person in Sydney from 28th February. The council determines at this meeting, so I will nominate Councillor Boland and Councillor Chandler to be our 2 voting reps for the conference to be held on Monday the 28th of February to Wednesday the 2nd. The council determined that those are our 2 voting delegates. The council notes the following motions. Motion council and determines any further motions of the local government New South Wales lobby. That the motion that was the suggestion that was brought up tonight go to the General Manager's Office to formulate a resolution to be put to the 27th of January council meeting. And note that the motions close on the 30th of January. I'd like to speak in favour of that amendment, councillor Hickey or Deputy Mayor Hickey. I move this motion because it's important that we have representation at the Local Government Association at New South Wales, but we should be sticking to the two voting things. I think it'd be highly inappropriate to have a motion passed tonight from a member of the public without giving the community the opportunity to have input into what's going off to represent it. What was suggested was virtually to promote, to bring refugees or immigrants to the city. I think that's something that you probably want the community to have a fair amount of input into before you go off sending it as a support motion from this council. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I'm not saying I'm for it, but it's certainly a suggestion that has a considerable impact on the Broken Hill community. And I highly suggest that members of the public would want to be involved in something as significant as that. So I move that amendment, and I regret having to leave the chair, but the resolution that, or the motion that was, I believe, was passed was light on, and I highly hope that councillors support the amendment that I've moved.
Have any speakers against the motion? No speakers against the motion. I guess we call the vote on.
Yeah, call the vote on the amendment.
A vote on the amendment, yes.
Sorry, just to clarify, is Councillor Boland and Councillor Chandler going to the conference in person?
Yeah, yes. Are you happy to accept, if the motion does get passed, are you two happy to accept as our voting delegates in person? I accept. Councillor Kennedy. Councillor, sorry, I'm interfering in your job. Councillor. So you put the amendment first. You say all those in favour.
So all those in favour of the amendment, which is what Councillor Kennedy moved. We've got Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Turley. Oh, sorry, yes, it's still can see. Councillor Brand is unanimous. That's
So now the amendment.
yeah. Right. So the amendment now becomes the motion. And all those in favour, so we've got all those in favour of now the motion? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hickey. Most appreciated. A bit of a strange one, that one. Number 10, the city's power partnership local leaders program. Do you have a mover or a seconder for that motion?
I'd like to move an amendment, Councillor Kennedy.
Yes, Councillor Boland.
It's light on information, that report. I'd like to receive a report on the benefit that membership to this organisation provides to the city of Broken Hill, so the councillors can make an informed decision. Looking at, say, the January meeting for that report.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second that.
Seconded, Councillor Jewett. Do we have any speakers against that? Would you like to speak? Oh no, you had a bit of a brief thing. Would you? Any speakers against that? Would you like to speak to it any further, Councillor Boland, or are you happy with what you said? Happy with what you said? All those in favour? Votes carried unanimously. The investments report. Do we have a mover for the investments report? Move, Councillor Allgate. You have a seconder? Councillor Gallagher. Speak to it, Councillor Allgate.
Not really, Councillor. It's all in the report. There's up lines and we've done well in some areas and not so good in other areas, but everybody's in the same boat.
Just, if you don't mind, you want to just have a word about it or anything, or are you happy to?
Yeah, I'm happy to, just as it is.
Just as it is, all right. So all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 12, section 355 committee report. We have a, sorry, we have a mover for that. Move councillor Allgate. We have a seconder. Councillor Gallagher, seconded Councillor Gallagher. Speak back, Councillor Allgate. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Is everyone getting a little hot? The minutes of the local traffic committee. Councillor Brown, you happy to move and speak to your reporters? Normal, just give if you.
Happy to move, Councillor Kennedy, but I wasn't actually present at that meeting.
Oh.
It was held on the 7th of December.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I wasn't there.
Just
So happy to
yeah,
move.
just if you could, because it's an important committee of not of council, but it's a committee that council is part of. And as Councillor Brown stated earlier on, it's not a 355 committee. It runs a little differently to that. If you don't mind, Councillor Brown, do you just want to just briefly tell councillors what the function of that is and how it works with traffic matters, because council's not in charge of all traffic matters.
No, and strictly speaking, the councillor rep on this committee is in an observer only. But it's a committee that consists of representatives from Transport New South Wales Council, of course, the police, and the local members representative, Mr. Bevan, who's supposed to be here, was here earlier. It's an opportunity really where those representatives can discuss all sort of small and large traffic related issues. I think it works very well, and it's been instrumental in solving a lot of problems that are annoying to people, small problems, but also make recommendations on larger issues. So it's an effective group.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor Brown. So more or less what it says is when it comes to traffic matters, we can make a recommendation to the traffic committee. The traffic committee then either approves it or not, and then it comes back for our endorsement. So the traffic committee can't do things without us, and we can't do things without them. That's more or less what it is, Councillor Brown. Yeah. So that's just one for councillors to think about, the new councillors, particularly when they're talking to members of public that might want a 5-minute parking zone or whatever. Council has to go through the traffic committee to get it, then we endorse it. So the action list, item 4. Oh, sorry.
We get past.
Oh, seconder. Oh, shit. Better vote on. We have a seconder for that. Councillor Turley. Sorry, Councillor Gallagher. All no further comment, Councillor Brown. No. All those in favour? I'll declare it carried unanimously. Item 14 is the action list. We usually have Councillor Nolan here to tell us that the action list is looking good colours. So someone like to take that. So we have Councillor Gallagher who moves the motion and says it's very green. For the gallery, that means that most things have been done. We have a seconder. Councillor Page. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. No questions taken on notice, was there?
No.
So,
Can I just bring up?
yes, so questions for the next meeting, Councillor Hickey.
I've had lots of comment around town as well in real estate regarding fruit fly. Is the fruit fly program still in? We still do that fruit fly program together with the Department of Agriculture, because there's fruit fly everywhere in this town. It's running right rampant. You know, people are commenting everywhere.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, could I make comment?
You can, Councillor Page.
last 2-year timeframe, I've lost every piece of fruit. I have every variety of fruit you could think of, including cherries, whatever. And last year and this year, we have lost virtually everything. So it is a big issue. And if we could be part of the solving the problem, I think everyone would be very grateful.
I know the growers down in the Wentworth area are really concerned about the fruit fly at Broken Hill because it can wipe out their whole industry. And
General Manager, don't know much about it.
No, we can provide information. It is the Department of Industry, or their new name, now that they've had another restructure, that are responsible for it, but we can get some further facts from them around what programs they've got in place, if they have got any in place, or what we can do to.
It is rather urgent as it's right now.
Is there a
You know,
motion we
I
can
can't wait
Jay,
for it.
to get some action done right with a thing to get them to take action?
Yeah,
If between councillor Page and councillor Hickey, if they'd like to move a motion of urgency to contact. You want to give a hand there for the councillors, Jay?
Yeah.
We'll just move this motion, councillor Aldgate, and then we'll just give a bit of a wording that'll help you out.
Yeah, for consideration, that council write to the relevant state agency around the urgent nature of fruit fly in Broken Hill and the surrounding region, and request advice on what they're doing to address the issue.
Yeah, happy to
I'd like to move that one.
You happy to second that, councillor Page? Yep. Any speakers for? I'll just can we just have a mover that it is an urgent? Just a quick couple of movers that'll be urgent. So then I'll accept it. I move councillor Gallagher, second to councillor Jewett. So it's matter of urgency, and I'll accept it as a motion. Any speakers for? You're more than welcome to speak again because it is a big issue. Yep, councillor Aldgate. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to make a comment that many years ago, I'm not sure what's happened in recent years, but many years ago, the council used to provide the dates, and they used to realise at that time, I think it was with the Department of Agriculture. And I don't know whether that's changed in recent years, but I know we used to supply all the dates to people that wanted them.
Well, it's definitely an issue, so good on the two councillors for bringing it up. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Any other questions arising?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Yes, councillor Page.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, for the next council meeting, could we have some costings on a new pool at the south area, and alongside that, the community garden? So whether you divide the two jobs, and I think it's time South Broken Hill, we need to look at a pool out there plus the community garden. So just some estimates on what the cost would be.
Do you have a size in mind, councillor Page?
I do, but I'd rather if we can bring back some costings.
Oh, I think that's the thing. Are you talking a big pool, a 50-metre pool?
Well, two costings on a 50 and a.
Oh, you're talking full size pools. Yeah.
50 or a 25, and I think the big one out there at the moment, the community garden. So some estimates on, because people love gardening now, and it's a chance for all the people out the south area to throw products and be supporting each other. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Page. Just with the community gardens, that is a resolution of council. So if we could just perhaps have a report at some time to just let councillor Page know how we can go about getting that going, because it's an important one. We'll have to get rid of the fruit fly probably, but once we get that going, we might be able to grow some stuff out there.
Yes, I think exactly, Mayor and Page, you can get rid of that.
You've got something to say? Jay?
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just in relation to that, yes, certainly can provide a report and update on the community gardens. But as for a new pool, for the next meeting, I'd really need some further direction provided by council in relation to what you'd like to see in, what it is, and then obviously would need detailed some level of costing from engineers and geotechs for the land remediation and going through that. I'd be providing you with very inaccurate advice based on what information I've got.
Councillor Page, would be happy for it to be referred to the committee you're on to discuss, and so you're happy with that, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
General Manager. Any further questions? No, no confidential matters. Neil?
No.
So that is the conclusion of the meeting, and everyone can get to it. Oh, sorry, Councillor. Oh, you want to you moved one at the end as well, did you, Councillor?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep. Very, very good pickup, Councillor Turley.
Councillor Kennedy, there's also a confidential report.
Oh, it's just got Neil there.
No, I haven't.
No?
No.
No, not tonight.
Well, I've got, I've got 2 in the morning.
Disregard. That's the heat.
No, it's good.
I'm missing stuff. I'm sweating. People are fanning. So we have a public question time at the end of the meeting. The question time at the end of the meeting is to deal with anything that may have happened during the meeting. If you want more information or to speak about it. So any Elaine?
All I'd like to say is,
Ron,
I don't want to use the mic. Landcare have got a program going with all the community gardens. I suggest that the council go and see Simon Molesworth. And Simon Molesworth's also been doing something about fruit fly. So maybe you need to talk to him about that.
Do you want to just put that down? We'll put that down. Elaine, General Manager's taken note of it. Any other? Yep. Did you? Yep.
Thank you, Councillor. Just a point of order on the item on top of page 321 in the business printer. It's a green area on the areas of pump things that have been achieved.
Yep.
Yep. So it says that the infographics that we have of the end of term report 2016 to 21, they were not distributed to all residents. It won't happen until July 2022 when the rate notices are sent. So therefore, it cannot be considered as a completed item.
You like to respond to that? Yeah, we'll just respond to that if you like.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, through you. No, they have been printed and are going to be distributed to all ratepayers, irrespective of whether ratepayers are received the third quarterly instalment. So we've used our entire rates assessment list that we do for the annual notices for this specific run, and it will go out for the rate notices that are due at the end of February 2022. So this was only moved in December. So the next rate instalment is due at the 28th of February. So that's early February, late January is when you receive that.
It should still be orange, not red.
No, good. Thank you. Thank you. Yep, Nick? Oh, go over there. It's been recorded, that's the thing. It's part of the actual meeting, so.
I just got a question for Councillor Mary Brown, just about the library, where she said earlier they put the plans out for comments to the local
people. I think there was only one meeting in the Civic Centre about that. I know myself and Isabel and a few other people made some comments about it. We never heard any facts on it. Councillor Kennedy, and it's just not it's not true what happened, and I wanted to have any comments on that.
It's up to Councillor Brown whether she wishes to respond. So you're more than entitled to question, but every councillor is entitled to respond. So it's up to you, Councillor Brown.
I don't really wish to respond to Councillor Kennedy. I didn't even say that. That wasn't part of my argument at this meeting.
That's good. That's the answer. That's the answer. Nick, was that Councillor Brown didn't.
But if something gets put up,
I'll just because we don't want because it's going to be a good time.
I'm just saying.
No, this is not just for you, so I'm going to say for everyone. When you ask your question and it's responded, then that's the response. Even if you disagree, there's no need to keep on going, because what happens is then it turns into whatever you made your comment, Councillor Brown responded, and that's it. But if you have another issue, more than welcome. Yeah. Any other? I think everyone's going to be happy to get home, aren't they? To the air cooler. So the meeting is now officially over, and thank you. Oh no, we have one more. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, the plan is to get everyone involved. Is to get everyone involved, because there is a lot of people that know about trees, land care included. We don't want to end up with trees that cause all sorts of problems. With the gum trees, as whatever, a lot of people love gum trees. I love trees in general, but it is something that needs to be addressed for the community. So thank you. Oh, sorry. Oh, righto. Can we have a motion just to end the public forum? Move Councillor Hickey, seconded Councillor Aldgate. All in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. That is now the meeting closed. That is the meeting closed, and thank you everyone for coming and suffering through an hour and a half of heat. You take that back to the sweat on the back. You're taking that back to the safe. Yeah. No worries, mate.
Okay, I'll just give you that motion in writing, the one for the local government.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
And that's the reference.
Yep, that'll be fantastic. Thank you.
And don't worry about the back of this page, it's just recycled paper.
Yeah, okay.
Just draw a line through it, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Done, thank you.